In the seaside village of Port Song, there was a young woman named Marina. Her small cottage was filled with looms and frames, and from her hands came the most exquisite tapestries the village had ever seen. But for the last 2 years, Marina's great loom stood empty. Her problem was not a lack of skill, but a surfeit of vision. She saw the perfect tapestry in her minder grand scene of the village's founding, with every brick and face rendered in impossible detail. It would be her masterpiece. But every time she began, doubt would creep in. What if the blue for the sky is wrong? What if I ran out of the right crimson for the elders' robes? She would weave a few inches, frown, and then, with a heavy heart, pull the threads out. The floor around her loom was a soft, colorful grave of unraveled beginnings. Marina became known as the girl who undid her own work. She spent her days tending her small garden or staring at the sea, her fingers idle, her mind a storm of unmade decisions. She would watch the fishermen mend their nets with simple, repetitive knots and feel a pang of envy. They finished what they started. One afternoon, her elderly neighbor, Mr. Reese, knocked on her door. He was a retired sailor, his hands mapped with thick ropes of scars, and he carried a simple basket. "My hands ache today," he said, his voice a warm gravel. "But my granddaughter needs a new blanket for her doll. I have the wool, but the small work, it escapes me. Would you weave something simple?" Marina hesitated. A doll's blanket. It was so small, so trivial compared to the epic in her mind. But she saw the quiet hope in the old man's eyes and nodded. He placed the basket in her hands. Inside was not the fine, colorful merino she used for her tapestries, but a small, humble skein of undyed cream-colored wool. "Just something to keep the chill off," he said, and left. That evening, with the pressure of a masterpiece gone, Marina sat at her small hand loom. She set up the simple cream threads. There was no plan, no grand vision to disappoint. She just began. Over, under, pull. Over, under, pull. The rhythm was meditative. Her mind, usually a shouting crowd of doubts, went quiet. She focused only on the feel of the wool, the crossing of the threads, the growing rectangle of cloth. It was done in an hour. It was plain, sturdy, and warm. She held it, and for the first time in years, she felt a quiet pulse of completion. No unraveling, no critique. It was just done. The next day, Mr. Reese's granddaughter, a girl of 6, came to thank her. She was clutching the blanket, her face beaming. "It's perfect," she declared, and ran off to wrap her doll. Perfect. The word landed softly in Marina's heart, not because the blanket was, but because it served its purpose without fanfare. That small success was a pebble that started a slow avalanche. The next day, Marina looked at her great empty loom. The vision of the village founding still intimidated her, so she did not try to see the whole picture. Instead, she told herself, just weave the lower left corner, just the stones of the old well. She chose a simple grey wool and began, over, under, pull. She wove only the well, and when it was done, she did not pull it out. She left it. The next day, she wove the cobblestones around it, then a patch of green for the grass beside it. Each day, she added only what she could see clearly, what her hands felt steady to create. She stopped measuring her progress against the grand finale. She measured it only against the empty space of yesterday. The tapestry grew, not in a frantic rush, but in slow, sure increments. Sometimes she would pause for days, looking at the sea until the right color for a roof or the shape of a tree became clear in her mind, and that was okay. The work was patient. It waited for her. A year later, the tapestry was finished. The village gathered to see it unveiled. They marveled at its detail, its beauty. But Marina's greatest pride was not in the cheering crowd. It was in the memory of the quiet, disciplined hours, the stone well, the patch of grass, the single branch of an oak tree. She had not conquered the mountain in one leap. She had laid one stone at a time until the path was built. Mr. Rees found her after the crowd left. He looked at the tapestry, then at her calm face. "You stopped unraveling," he observed. "I stopped looking at the whole picture," she replied. "I learned to trust the next thread." He smiled, a network of kind wrinkles. "A sailor doesn't stare at the distant shore, girl. He trusts his compass, adjusts his sail for the wind he has, not the wind he wishes for. You found your true north." Marina now teaches weaving in the village. Her first lesson is always the same. She gives each student a simple skein of cream wool and a small frame. "Do not try to make art," she tells them. "Just make a square. Be faithful to the next thread and the next." The masterpiece is not the goal. It is the quiet, brave accumulation of all the small, completed things. Moral: a grand dream can paralyze us with its scale, making us destroy our own beginnings. Do not focus on the distant, finished masterpiece. Instead, find the courage to complete the small, simple square in front of you. Progress is not a single, dramatic leap, but the faithful laying of one thread after another. Trust the process, complete the immediate task, and the larger picture will weave itself slowly and surely from the fabric of your disciplined days.